So there's certain things that I think are relevant to these conversations that people have been having lately about Sweet Baby Inc. A game called Immortals of Avium, which ended up dying commercially really, really badly, has a character in it towards the beginning of the game named Luna, and they are a character whose biological sex appears to be female, but they lack all identifiable secondary sexual characteristics. So they end up being an androgynous character. Now, I'm fine with the idea that you can make characters however you want, but they're like, this doesn't better appeal to most people. And this is essentially replacing a female character in this case with an androgynous character. And you see this happening more and more. And around 2014 to like 2017, there is a bunch of articles about how pinup art is very feminist and how great it is and stuff. And it's because it has this broad appeal to men and women. There's certain kind of aesthetics about femininity and just female sexuality and depiction of the ideal female form that has broad appeal. So there are contexts often where women also like to appreciate the idealized portrayal of a woman. And so if you try to erase that from media entirely, you're going to start alienating large amounts of people. And also as a byproduct, you're kind of erasing the presence of women or femininity in media. And I don't see that as being a positive thing, to continually diminish women in video games as any kind of portrayal of women in video games as like a progressive feminist thing. So there's certain characters that end up having broad market appeal that are very popular because they go beyond just the sensibilities of men. And off the top of my head, I can at least think of a few that really hit home with that. So, like, you have the classic portrayal of Lara Croft in Tomb Raider. Lara Croft. I'm gonna say it right. And you have Bayonetta, because Bayonetta, it's a little bit different. If you look at the concept art of Bayonetta, there's more of this high fashion aesthetic, and you can see some of that translated into Bayonetta in the game. And I'm not saying it's like one for one, but there is a kind of high fashion glamour aesthetic with Bayonetta, which helps give her that broader appeal to women a little bit. And then 2B from Nier Automata, and she kind of also, like 2B and Lara Croft, there is some aspect of that kind of pin-up, very feminine aesthetic in their designs to some extent, even though Lara Croft is, like, for the most part in the original games, was portrayed not really in a sexual way. The promotional material outside of that, the ad campaigns, were totally different at the time. but I'm not talking about that. Those are literally two drastically different sides of a portrayal of one character. But like Lara Croft is still very feminine in a sense, and a powerful kind of feminine character. Same with Bayonetta, same with 2B. I heard for whatever reason Juliet and Lollipop Chainsaw is extremely popular, not just with men but with women. And I can see that, as that's another character who has kind of that pin-up aesthetic like on them in how they were portrayed. So by trying to eliminate that like entirely, you end up alienating most of the broader market. I mean, it's in service to no one to continually replace women with androgynous characters. Like, you should be using androgynous characters to add possible variety. It can be an additional way to portray a character, but it shouldn't be used to replace women. So a lot of these games tone back like secondary female sexual characteristics and try to get that, as much as trying to get a ton of characters to be as androgynous as possible. It was a problem I had with Control, which I have no doubt has some of that influence in it, where they kind of toned back like it's sexual dimorphism. You know, there's a difference between a male and female body. And so they kind of toned that back on some of the female characters. Like some of the ones who actually had speaking roles, but not some of the NPCs. Like the NPCs generally looked fine for the most part, that didn't talk, that were kind of filling the background and stuff. So I don't know, like you have two aesthetics kind of clashing in that game a little bit. So I don't know what was going on for sure there. But this used to be a way to portray women that was empowering, idealistic, that had broad appeal, that everyone wanted. Like, just look at Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is the way that she is because of appealing to that kind of pin-up art style and it being able to hit a broad market. Like, that's a lot closer to what everyone actually wants. As for women aesthetically being portrayed in media. But obviously there should be more to characters than that. But when you get rid of certain aspects, it makes it harder to hit that broad market appeal. So like if you have characters who are unattractive, it's going to make it harder to appeal to a broad audience. If you have characters with no personality, it's going to make it harder to appeal to a broader audience. If they have no motivations, it's going to make it harder to appeal to a broad audience. And if they seemingly have no defined morals or values or thoughts, like they're an empty character, like nobody's going to care about them. Which kind of brings me back to Luna in Immortals of Avium, because that's basically exactly what she is just entirely empty, and it's no question why she appeals to nobody.